Alrighty, welcome back everybody to another Star Wars video. Recording this right after we did the last one.
Long time no see.
It's a very long time. So, last time we did the start of the best Star Wars trilogy. So now we're going to what some people claim to be the best Star Wars movie with Empire Strikes Back.
I'm one of those people that claims that. It's not my favorite, but it is.
You think it is the best
one? I think it is by far and away the best. Just the best. Not by far and away. I'm going to take that back, but it's.
I can understand that point being made because, I mean, just going into this, I don't have anything I didn't like.
No,
I honestly
nothing.
don't have anything I didn't like.
That's what I was about to say. Is there's nothing about this movie that I don't like.
There is one thing that this movie sort of did that was kind of like, but that's only because of what happens in the next movie. And I think you might know what scene I'm talking about.
Yes, I think. Let's get into it though.
With Luke and Leia.
Ooh.
There's a scene where they kiss, but I do not blame this on this movie because at the time of this movie coming out, everybody
You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, but when you figure out the next movie that they're siblings, it makes it a bit weirder.
Yeah,
but that's not something you blame this movie for.
You don't know.
So, but that's like the closest thing. But even thinking at this point in time, it's just like there's nothing bad about this film, honestly. No. So, like objectively, there's like nothing bad about it. This is the movie that really made where you really start to see Luke start to grow.
Oh yeah,
and you really get that feeling because of, I mean, the movie starts out on Hoth.
I think just Mark Hamill's an actor is also more experienced too, but also his character is, yeah, it starts out on Hoth, yeah.
Because, you know, like...
With the
Yeti.
The Wampa? That's the word. Mm-hmm.
Wampa, yeah.
Wampa. It's hard to remember all the alien names in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. With the Wampa and him being like...
He was captured.
He's stuck in ice and he has to,
But like the movie just starts out there, but
because that's the first time you see him use the Force on screen, is it not?
I believe so, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's cool. So,
but yeah, you really see just where Luke comes from because like, you really see that when he's like training on Dagobah.
Yeah.
Dagobah. And you even see that when he fights Vader for the first time. Because, I mean, just jumping straight to this, that fight with Luke and Vader.
That fight is so good.
It's one of the best scenes in Star Wars history because it's Luke fighting
Vader. and it also gives birth to one of the most iconic lines in any movie ever.
With Luke accusing, because, Obi-Wan told Luke that like he knew Luke's father.
Yeah.
But of course didn't say
who it was.
Well, he didn't say what he became. He just said that Vader killed him. And then one of the biggest things in this film is that when Vader says, "No, I am your father." And what I love about this behind the scenes is the fact that...
we got to talk about this.
Yeah. The one thing that was so cool about the behind the scenes is that he said something completely different.
Yeah.
The only people who knew that line were Mark Hamill, James Earl Jones, and George Lucas, I believe.
And then the director, which I can't for the life of me remember his name.
Yeah, I think it might. I don't even know if it was the director because it was just because of course Luke had to react to it. James Earl Jones had to say it, and I think it was just those three. Because he said something different on set to not give that away.
The guy on set, the guy in the Vader, the guy in the Vader suit.
I don't even think he knew.
No, he doesn't know. He delivers lines to, like, get reactions and stuff, but what he said on set was, Obi-Wan killed your father. That is what the guy in the Vader suit said on set. And George Lucas goes up to Mark Hamill, like, at some point, like, offset and goes, do not tell anybody this. But here's the line that's going to be in the movie. And my dad is old enough to have seen this in theaters. So when he saw this in theaters, he saw it on, like, opening weekend or something like that, I think is what he told me. People stood up and started like freaking out.
Basically, like the equivalent to that scene is to like your father's generation, how like what's a good example? Like Andrew Garfield come through the portal was for us. I would say it's like that equivalent.
Okay.
Because it's something that's like you don't expect.
I don't know if there is an equivalent. I'll be honest.
I'm saying that's like the closest.
That's
thing.
the closest. That's the closest thing.
Is the whole Andrew coming out of the portal in No Way Home? That's the closest thing we've got.
Yeah, that's the closest thing we have. But I don't think we've seen any. I don't think we've seen something like that since that's happened.
Nope. That was just such a massive thing where I was just like, nobody expected it, and it's become one of the most iconic lines in any film.
And people don't really talk about this, but Mark Hamill's acting, like reacting to it, is really good.
It's incredible. You really see the emotion. Also, let's just talk about this. The heroes don't win in this film.
No, he gets his hand
Luke
cut off.
loses his hand.
Han gets frozen in carbonite at the end.
Oh man, that was.
Which some of you...
I love how he was just like, this was straight up like, just Harrison Ford being Harrison Ford when Leia, because this is when Han and Leia become a thing.
Yeah.
When Leia says, I love you, and I don't even think this was scripted.
No,
Harrison Ford just said, I know.
It was entirely improv. He said that. It was entirely improv. And it makes sense because it's Harrison Ford.
And it makes sense for the character.
And it's so Han. That's my thing with it. It's so Han. And
it works so well.
It works very
also,
well.
we gotta... Because, I mean, most of the... Just talking about, like, all the other characters, like, they're all pretty much the same as we saw them. They just have grown a little bit. Like
Boba Fett.
I was literally just about to say
we get Boba.
This is the movie introduction of Boba Fett.
Boba. I still haven't watched that. I need to. Anyways.
Yeah,
I still haven't watched the TV show. I'm sorry, guys.
You got 2 episodes left. Yeah, this is the movie first appearance of Boba Fett. And he barely has any lines at all.
Maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3 at most. But
what
I've always appreciated about Boba Fett is the fact that he has so minimal lines, but the fact that he became as popular as he did just by pretty much being a background bounty hunter
and because
is incredible.
Because he looks sick. His costume design is very good.
And when it gets like refinished not refinished, but like repainted in The Mandalorian.
It looks so good. No, and then that's the first time you ever see like a Mandalorian helmet, and
that was the first appearance in terms of like Star Wars.
It's the first time you see that kind of helmet, and
it's not the very first appearance of Boba Fett, but we'll leave it at that.
Oh, we don't talk about it. But then the Mandalorian helmet is used in Clone Wars.
Of course.
Some of the a lot of the movies. Mandalorian,
of course.
Book of Boba. It's Boba Fett himself, just as a character is iconic.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And he gets even better as time goes along because you start getting all these, because of course, with him coming back in The Mandalorian and him getting his own show, they can go more in depth with his character.
And as good as the guy that plays him in the original is, both voice and like the guy in the suit, Tamora Morrison, who's the guy that plays him in Book of Boba Fett,
and the prequels,
and the prequel,
the clone troopers in the prequels.
Yeah, he plays all the clone troopers and Jango Fett in the prequels. He's really good. His voice acting is incredible.
Yeah, it made sense because originally, for obvious reasons, it wasn't Tamora Morrison when this movie came out.
Yeah, because he was
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it made sense when they went back and changed it to that voice.
Yeah.
It just made sense.
Yeah, because they changed it. Yeah, that's true. Because, especially if you watch Clone Wars, every single time you see Boba or you see a clone, you're like, I know, every single one of them sounds alike because it's Tamora Morrison.
Yeah, he voices...
voices most, not all, but I think most. Does he voice all of the clones in the Clone Wars show? I don't think so.
I don't know. I still haven't finished.
I think there's a couple.
Yes, I still haven't finished Clone Wars. Just leave me alone.
There's a lot of them. Okay, there's 7.
But at the same time, I'm in the middle. I'm still in the middle of season 3. I will get to it.
There's a lot of seasons.
I swear I will get to it. I just haven't found the time yet. So I swear to you all, I will finish it at some point.
And when we get to the prequels, we'll start incorporating more of Star Wars: The Clone Wars into these reviews because it's so good.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Boba Fett's such a massive thing.
He's so good. And then
the introduction of our favorite little green Jedi, Yoda,
who is voiced by Miss Piggy, the same person that does Miss Piggy.
That's right.
It's a girl, is it not, or is it a guy? I forgot. Anyways,
it should be a guy because what's the actor's name? Something with Oz in it.
Frank Oz.
Frank Oz.
It is Frank Oz. Yes, it's Frank Oz. Yeah.
Just take that in for a second. Miss Piggy is Yoda.
I want to get your opinion on this. So, do you like how he looks in the prequels or this better? Because in Empire Strikes Back, he's a puppet. In Clone Wars, he's entirely CGI.
I personally prefer it in prequels, but I really appreciate
it's a different take.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's different in age.
Yeah,
like
but I appreciate what the prequels does because
the puppet's really good.
It is really good. It's just a matter of like personal preference, of course, but I think both versions were really, really good.
And if you watch the prequels, he's like pretty serious. And in Empire Strikes Back, you forget how like comedic he is, because he hits R2 at one point. He, like he messes with Luke a whole bunch.
He starts eating his food.
He starts eating his food, and you're like, dude, what the heck is this thing? And then he lifts the X-wing out of the swamp that Luke crashes into, and it's because at that time you have no idea who Yoda is.
Yeah,
you no clue.
But you start seeing that he really means business when when Obi-Wan's Force Ghost shows up and is talking to Yoda, and Yoda's pretty much talking to him like an old friend. So, which I mean makes sense. But I sort of like how it's like because he went to Dagobah to train more as a Jedi, but he leaves before he finishes his training. He's like, I'm sorry, but I need to go help my friends, because they split off in this movie.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's done well. Like usually, like the main characters split up a lot in just Star Wars in general. Like because Luke kind of goes his own path, while Han and Leia go separate paths. But it's good.
You still feel like they have a really big connection.
It's really good.
The scenes where they interact, you really feel like
that's how it is. Return of the Jedi, because by Return of the Jedi, he's a full on Jedi, and like he saves Han. And when they show up, it's like they haven't been apart, even though they've probably been apart for a while.
You really don't feel like they've been apart for that long, because you really do feel like when they are together, you feel that connection between these guys. But yeah, the introduction of Yoda is just great, because he's such a troll in this movie, and I appreciate it so much.
He's so good. He's so much different than he is in the prequels, Clone Wars, any of that.
But yeah, like that's pretty much where Luke spends most of this movie. And Han and Leia pretty much spend a good portion of time, like they're pretty much just running from the Empire for most of this movie, and they get to like Cloud City.
Lando. I love Lando so much. Billy D. Williams plays him. I again think it's the same deal as he plays himself. Because again, if you've seen Billy D. Williams in interviews, he acts like Lando. He comes out of nowhere and you're like, who the heck is this guy? But then he quickly becomes one of the best parts of Star Wars. And Return of the Jedi, he's really good too. Oh. And he's one of the few good parts of Rise of Skywalker. But we'll talk about that soon. But Billy D. Williams, he's still alive and kicking, which is good, and he sounds exactly the same. But Billy D. Williams plays Lando so well, and he really makes him iconic. And I think Donald Glover did a good job of kind of trying to act like Billy D. Williams, and so when he played him in Solo, I think he did a good job. But nobody can be Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, but I think Donald Glover was probably the best choice for that.
Yes, but Billy D. Williams as Lando is it's so good, because he's hilarious. He's hilarious for one thing. It's great. I love it.
But yeah, and it's like they're at Cloud City, and then I love that scene where Lando like leads him into that room, and Vader's just standing there. You're like, he's just standing at the end of the table. Han like tries to shoot him, and he just goes. And he's probably thinking in his mind, no, I made y'all this fancy dinner, and you shoot at me.
You shoot. It just goes to show how powerful Vader.
All the rude things
it goes to show how powerful Vader. Because in the first one, you don't really see how powerful Vader is, because he does that one lightsaber fight. In this, because like a lot of people have died to these blaster bolts in the first couple movies, but he just
goes. No.
It's so good. And
I think the one thing where like Vader was probably at his most terrifying, and when you see him as powerful as this, is when you get like to Revenge of the Sith and onwards. For the little bit that you see in Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, of course, the scariest thing I'll probably cut this out, but the scariest thing I've ever seen Vader in, friggin' Jedi Fallen Order. He comes in and I'm just like, can I have the option to kill myself? I don't want to do this. Because when I gave me the option to fight him, I was just like, wait, you mean to tell me I have to fight this dude?
I feel like we should leave this. I feel like we could leave this in.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
But
yeah, and in Jedi Fallen Order, like you were saying, Jedi Fallen Order, he's the, well, quote-unquote, final boss. You don't fight him because you can't.
Because you take one swing at him, and then he just immediately starts choking you. You try and bring something behind him, and he's just like, no.
And then as you run away, he literally tears the bridge apart.
And you're just having to run away from him, and, like, you finally get away, and then you go through a door, and he's on the other side, like, surprise!
And then...
It's terrifying!
And then you drop your lightsaber, you're trying to get your lightsaber back, and
then he turns
it around and stabs
turns
you.
it on and stabs you. I'm just like...
And the only way you beat him is by distracting him.
By distracting him
water.
With water and escaping through there. I'm just like...
I just love how you see it a little bit in Empire. Definitely a lot in Return.
Empire is really where you start to see how powerful,
how terrifying,
terrifying Vader is.
But yeah,
we want to talk about terrifying. We will get to that a lot more in Rogue One because, good gracious,
it's one of it's
the best scene of that film.
Anyways,
but yeah, so Vader
becomes,
and that's when he kidnaps all of them and starts. You see, he starts torturing Han. This
is when Vader becomes. I think in A New Hope he's great. This is when Vader becomes iconic to me.
Yeah,
because of that line with "No, I'm your father." Just the fact that he's in this movie more. I'm pretty sure he's probably in this movie for more scenes, longer screen time.
Yeah, because also
and
because this is the introduction of Emperor Palpatine too.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Granted, it's just through a hologram.
Yeah.
But it's still an introduction to him nonetheless.
But then Vader still seems like he's the boss for some reason, even though you know that he's like second in command.
You know, it's like you have to have those scenes where it's like he is second in command just to remind you that he is not the head of the Empire, even though more often than not, that's exactly what he feels like. Yeah. And then I forgot in the first one you do see him force choke that one general. I find your lack of faith disturbing. Yeah. He has so many good lines too. He really does. I find your lack of faith disturbing. He says, Oh, of course the two when they're because this is something that they really start to make it a trend for most Star Wars movies. With the two most famous lines being like "The Force will be with you always," and "I've got a bad feeling about this." Oh my gosh! Which is saying. I want to say that's said in every single film. It is, yes. Obi-Wan and Han are the two that say it the most. Yeah. Obi-Wan in the prequels, obviously, and Han says it first, and because he made it popular. Yeah, I remember, especially in Revenge of the Sith, because he says it in the very beginning. Yeah, because it is the only phrase to be said in every single Star Wars movie. Even "May the Force be with you" is not said in. I forgot, but. It might be said in all of them. I might be wrong, but I know I have a bad feeling about this is said in every single movie. The music again. The music once again, because this is really when the Imperial March. This is when Imperial March, really became a thing. And wow, just wow. And there's different like versions of it too, where it's like a more slowed down version, where it's like if there's a scene with Darth Vader and it's like ending, it slows down and then it cuts to a different scene. But there's just different versions of it, and it's intimidating. It's intimidating. It is. You hear that music and you're just like, should I run? Yeah, it's like, can I just run away? Oh no, I'm being choked. Die? I was like, oh no, I'm being choked and I'm dead. This is the movie where Vader becomes a threat. Because by now you're familiar with him, and then you just see more of what he can do in this movie because he gets more screen time. Yeah. So. But we see more of what Vader can do in the prequels. So. Before he becomes Vader. Vader, but whinier. We'll talk about that. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else you have about this? No, I think most of it's been. We pretty much covered it all. So now the ratings. I'll go first time. 10. Got it. Cool. Two movies back to back and 10 out of 10. I don't, as in like for past reviews I've been at, I don't give everything a 10. It feels like I've given a lot of stuff a 10 though, because all the ones that I've been in were like No Way Home, Spider-Verse, which I think I gave it either a 9 or 9.5. You gave No Way Home a 10. I give No Way Home. You have to give No Way Home a 10. Of course. But the only reviews that I've ever given a 10 out of 10 were Into the Spider-Verse and No Way Home. But like there are 3 movies that we're going to cover in the Star Wars
in the Star Wars series that I'm going to give a 10, and I've already said 2 of them. So I'm not.
I feel like it's easy to figure out what that third one's.
I'm not going to give out just 10s willy-nilly, but this is, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies of all time. Full stop.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's not like one of my like top 10 favorite movies, but
you can appreciate it even if it's not your favorite.
Exactly. Which is why I am going to give this film a 10 out of 10 as well.
It's one of the probably top 10 best movies ever, and it does a good job of like it does a good job of showing you don't need like all these different action scenes and stuff. Star Wars does a good job of that in general. You don't need all like just a whole bunch of action scenes for it to be a great movie. There's character development is one thing that Star Wars does incredibly, and I think that's shown really well in Empire Strikes Back. And just, yeah, man, and Vader.
Yeah,
you said that.
I mean, he pretty much just covered everything. Because again, despite this not being one of my top 10 favorite movies, it's just a personal thing. This movie doesn't deserve anything less than a 10 out of 10. There's nothing bad about this movie. It builds on everything that A New Hope did right and just builds upon it.
I agree with that. It's not one of my favorite movies because like there's all these different movies that have come out recently.
It's just personal preference.
At the time, I think my dad cites it as one of his favorite movies ever too. At the time, it's like it was probably a lot of people's favorite movies, and it probably still is.
Yeah,
it's not one of my favorites, but is, in my opinion, one of the either top 10 or maybe even top 5 best movies of all time. It's just,
there's really nothing bad about this film. At least
George
to us.
George Lucas outdoes himself every single time in this trilogy.
Like in terms of just trilogies as a whole, this is probably without a doubt the best trilogy to ever exist.
Yeah, I don't think it's close.
Like even though it's like there's like some other trilogies that I still think are great. Like I personally love like the Captain America trilogy, the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy.
But as far as trilogy,
Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy is the best trilogy of any film.
It also, we didn't talk about this in the New Hope review at all, but it gives way to like it's referenced in so many movies. You see Star Wars references everywhere.
Yeah, you do.
Because it changed the movie industry forever.
It really did. It was really the late 70s.
It made sci-fi cool again.
It was really the late 70s that really gave us some of the most classic movies ever. Because you had, I mean, we mentioned all the movies we said that John Williams did. They all came out on the same time. Jaws and Superman were all late 70s.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it was some of the best eras of just movies in general. And this is probably the peak, I think.
Yeah. So. Although, this movie is definitely 10 out of 10. Arguably the best Star Wars movie. Mm. Arguably. But we'll get to that one.
Yep.
We'll get to that one a little bit later. So that's probably going to have to do it for Empire Strikes Back. Next time, we are going to be finishing off the original trilogy, sadly. Return of the Jedi.
I'm ready for that one, too.
I am, too, but there are things that I'm very iffy on in this movie.
Okay.
But we'll get to that more next time.
I'll have to think over those, yep.
Yeah. Because I was thinking if we weren't going to record it, but I feel like I want to try and give other people a chance to have some say in this original trilogy. So, again, if you're interested in being in any of these films, be sure to let me know. Because we already know Logan, Ken Emerson, and Taylor Johnson, of course, have all expressed interest. So, if anybody else is interested in being in any of these, you can reach out to either one of us, and yeah, we'll see about it. So, that's probably going to do Empire Strikes Back. Stay tuned for next time for Return of the Jedi. The main reason we're doing these a lot quicker is because I felt like wanting to get through all of the Star Wars videos
before things get intense.
Before we start to get to the point where we start getting intense. AKA when we start getting to the Batman.
Batman
is the big one. Because then there's going to be so many big movies coming up every single month. So this is really the series one you get first.
Because Batman, Morbius, and Doctor Strange are all within...
They're all a month apart.
Literally
about a month apart. Yeah, that's going to do it. Stay tuned for Return of the Jedi. And, yeah, let us know what you thought of Empire Strikes Back in the comments below. May the Force be with you all.